Hey guys, and welcome to another Battlefield 4 video. Today we have another weapon review, and as always this weapon was selected by you guys in the comments of the previous video. So as always, if you do want to select a weapon for the next review, do leave it in the comments below, and if you did miss the previous video of the M416, I have left that in the description as well. Now today's weapon, as you can probably see, is the SAR-21, or the Singapore Assault Rifle for the 21st century. Now as you can probably tell by the name, this weapon is only available for the Assault class, and it is pretty simple to unlock. All you have to do is achieve 19,000 points with the Assault class. Now there are quite a few weapons in this class that you can unlock by just gaining overall points with the class, like the AEK, the M416, the FAMAS, the SAR-21, but there are some weapons later on like the Ace Galil that you do have to do special assignments to unlock, like medical assignments. But for this weapon it is very basic, just 19,000 points overall with the Assault class. So first impressions of this weapon, I'll be honest, not great. When I first unlocked it, I think I played for one round before switching back out to the M416. Now since then I've worked out why. At the start of this game, when I first started playing last week, I was playing very close range game modes like Domination and Team Deathmatch, and for those kind of game modes, this weapon with a slow rate of fire and slow reload time is not a great choice. But as you'll see in this video, once I started playing game modes like Conquest and Rush, this weapon really started to come into its own. Now when you first start using this weapon, it is very similar to the AUG and the FAMAS for the obvious reason. Aesthetically it looks very similar with the bullpup design, and mechanically it is a bullpup weapon. I don't think any of these are forward ejection. I think they do all dispense their cases from just above the magazine at the rear of the weapon, but because they're bullpup they are quite slow to reload. And very similar to the FAMAS, this weapon has awful iron sights when you first unlock it. I was finding myself finding a target, aiming down sight, and then having to re-find that target again, re-find where he'd gone, because the iron sights are really big, really clunky. As soon as you look down those, you do lose all your peripheral vision. You have a very small porthole to look through, so with this weapon, when you first unlock it, it can be hard to kind of get used to that, but when you do unlock one of the sights, which you do very early on, it does make this weapon a whole lot more useful. Now statistically, what is this weapon like? Well, I'm going to go ahead and compare it to what I see as its two main contenders, the FAMAS and the AUG A3. Now of course, all of them do have a max damage of 25 and a minimum of 18, as we see with most assault rifles in the game. But the SAR comes in with the slowest rate of fire of only 600 rounds per minute compared to the 700 rounds of the AUG and the 1000 rounds a minute of the FAMAS, so it does have the slowest rate of fire. Of course, that isn't particularly a bad thing for certain game modes, as I've already said. If you are playing close range games of Domination, it might not be the best choice, but for long range combat games like Conquest and Rush, I do find this weapon is really good. It holds its own. If you put a heavy barrel, maybe an angle grip, you can get some nice long range single burst shots off, and it can be very accurate. Now it does actually have a slower reload time than the AUG of 3.4 seconds when empty compared to 3.1 of the AUG, but it actually has a faster reload time than the FAMAS by 0.1 of a second, so unless you're splitting hairs here, there isn't much difference between them, but technically it does sit in the middle with reload times between these two other weapons. So what are the best attachments for this weapon? Well, of course it depends on what kind of situation you want to use this weapon in. As I said, I personally find it great for long range engagements on games of Rush, Conquest, where you're taking out targets more than an average distance away. So for that I've gone for the muzzle brake, because of course it reduces muzzle climb by 25%, which means you can keep sustained fire accurately on targets that are more than average distance without the rounds climbing over the target's head. And to go with that, I've gone with the angle grip, because of course this reduces your first shot recoil. So if you're firing in single shot or even accurate burst fire, you can keep your rounds on your targets much more successfully. Now of course we need to select a sight, and again this depends on which kind of game modes and map styles you're going to be playing on, if you're going to be involved in long range, short range, or kind of middle of the road engagements. And for that reason I have picked the red dot sight. This is a best of both worlds kind of sight. You can take out targets at close range, you still have your peripheral vision, the sight isn't too bulky and take up all of your line of sight. It's also great at long range because it's got pinpoint accuracy, a very small accurate red dot. So this is a great sight for kind of all different types of engagements. But if you do want to have a sight that can take out those targets just a bit further away, as I've said previously, I do suggest having a long range scope like an ACOG or a 3.4 times scope with the canted iron sights. I find they work much quicker to adjust between the two than having a magnifier with something like a red dot sight. You can switch between these two and vary between them much quicker than you can to switch up that magnifier and then take it back down again. So if you do want a weapon that can take out very long range and then suddenly switch to very close range if the situation calls for it, I do suggest having the canted iron sights over the magnifier. Now overall, I think this weapon is a bit of a sleeping giant. When I first unlocked it, I didn't think much of it, and I don't think I was the only one. I've not seen many other players using the SAR-21, But I think later on, as people kind of work out what kind of game modes, which kind of maps this weapon is perfect for, we will see this weapon becoming a lot more popular. Game modes like this, for example, Rush on Paracel Storm, this weapon was great for trying to take out those attackers as they came across from the opposite islands at quite a long distance away. So if you have unlocked this weapon and not given it much of a chance yet, I do recommend trying it out. Try out those big games of Conquest and Rush. Give this weapon a real good chance. And if you haven't unlocked it yet, don't worry, it is very simple to unlock. You can unlock it very, very quickly, and it definitely is worth the time. Now, once again, in the comments below, I want to hear from you. Which weapon would you love to see me review next? I try and keep these reviews a little bit informal. I don't want to throw too many facts and figures at you. I like to try and keep it based on my own opinion. Tell me in the comments if you do enjoy this style of weapon review. But as I said, leave your comments below of which weapon you'd like to see reviewed next. And if you did enjoy this video, please hit me up with a like. It does help me out a lot. But in the meantime, guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.